Alright, let's go ahead and get started with setting up our Unity scene so we can start working through the particles. First thing we want to do, just go ahead and start up Unity. And when you start it up, you want to go to the Create New Project. We're going to just browse, and we'll go ahead and find our, I just made a folder on here called Unity Particles, and then just a folder inside of it called Particles. We'll set it up right here. So if you need to, just make a new folder and call it Particles. You can set it on your desktop, or if you have a working folder or a directory you're working with, place it in there. Go ahead and click on the select folder, and then we'll go ahead and click on the create and let Unity set up the things to have us a scene ready. Alright, so when we get this ready, the first thing we want to do, so it's going to be a little bit different than some of the ones you've done before if you've been following along, is that we're going to start with a Unity package. That way we can go ahead and get set up together with the same textures, with the same materials ready to go. I've got it on my desktop. I'm going to move this to the side. Now you can get to the same things by going to Assets and Import New Asset. You can also go over to the side right here, and we have one which you should have downloaded from the website, which is going to be the Unity Particles. This is just going to be a package of particles that we put together for you. I'm just going to left click and drag it over into my project. And Unity is going to think about it for a moment, and then once it gets done thinking, it's going to give you the option of the import package. Now the import package, and this is going to be the same for any type of package you import into a project, it's going to tell you whatever is different. So if there's new elements to it, it'll have the word new over here. If it's already exists inside the scene, it'll actually uncheck one of these and it won't say new next to it, letting you know that it's not one that's going to be inside of it. We want to go ahead and make sure all of them are selected. So you can it'll either show all, or you can do the none and all and have them all selected. I'm going to click on import right here. And Unity is going to import them for us, then we'll just move the window back over once it gets finished with the import. Alright, so now we have the particle set up for the import. One thing we want to go ahead and do is make sure we have our window set up the same while we're working through this. I'm going to set mine to the default just in case you've come from a different background in terms of the layout. So we'll go ahead and just do the let's find our default setting here. So default should probably look something similar to this. I'm going to go ahead and just take the project and right click and drag. Remember, these are tearable tabs, so you can just tear off and move it. The console, we don't really need the console, so we're just going to close it. You can either middle click to close it, or you can right click and do close. The hierarchy, I'm going to just drag over to the right hand side over here. So what we probably want to do to start with, we'll have something similar to this. The project, I'm just going to right click on the tab and choose one column layout. And then we'll go ahead and close this up a little bit more. So the goal for this is just to have the project here, hierarchy inspector, and then we'll make sure we have our scene and our game tabs set up right here. Over on the right hand side at the top where it says the default, just go down and just say save. We'll say save layout, and we'll just call this one, I'm going to call it with my name and just say particle. We'll just say Walker particle. That'll be good. So with that one, that gives us the setup that we need to get started with. Just as a quick overview here while we have a little bit of time left, in the particle examples folder that you placed in here from the Unity package, you're going to have a particle scene, and then you have particles. The particles, these are going to be the ones we work through. So we're going to simply go from one to the next in order. The main element to this, though, is it's going to have a texture and it's going to have a material. We're going to create a particle system for each one of these. We'll create a prefab so that you can reuse them within your scenes as well. Inside of the particle scene, this is just going to have two example scenes that we can start with. One scene is going to be a grid scene, so you'll be able to see your grid through here. Let me go ahead and turn off my gizmos for 3D and show. You can also have, so we'll have just the standard grid scene, and then we'll also have a textured scene. And the textured scene, similar to the other, this will give you a nice representation of how it looks inside an environment when you're working on your textures and when you're working on your particles. Alright, so we'll have these two that we'll work with and look at. Be sure that you get familiar with both particle scene and particles, and then we'll begin with the next one, starting with the dust.